first step in the shelter, I've gotten some poles collected up here too, the 2 trees that I'm going to use as my supports. And I've collected a couple of vines here too, real long vines that grow up into the trees. It looks like grapevine. It's not a grapevine, it's some other type of a wild vine. But what I'm using is that vine just to lash this pole across, which is going to be my support. And on this other side here, there was just a little limb sticking off this tree, so that's why I chose this particular height. It might be a little bit higher than what I would have chosen, but it was there, so it's just assisting me in doing this. But you can see this piece of vine here on the ground. It's real long. This piece of vine is probably about 14 foot long. So I'm going to use that, and I'm going to continue wrapping this. Just want to give you an idea of how I'm doing it. And I'm just doing a figure 8 over and under, and continue to wrap this and make this pole real secure across here. I did use a green sapling for this because it's a little bit stronger than some of the dry wood that I found off the forest floor. The rest of it, hopefully I can just use the dry wood. So anyhow, that's the first step, and I will continue to show you as progress is made. Okay, I wanted to show you guys once how I use this wild vine to lash my poles together. You can see what I got here is just a short piece. Basically I run it through, okay, and now I'm going to loop it through like I'm tying a knot. You got to be careful, you don't want to pull that stuff too tight, you'll break your vine. And what I'm going to do is just take it and pass it back through again, like this, and then secure it. Now I'm going to pass the whole vine back around again. Okay, at this point, I'm going to come back around from the other side and make it a figure 8, which will make it just a little more secure. Okay, again, you pull it tight, but you don't want to overdo it because it's not quite as flexible as paracord. Okay, now if I had a longer piece of vine, I could just keep running that like I did on the main support, and that would definitely give me a strong hold. But once I finish, now I'm just going to take this last tag in and just kind of run it through and loop it several different ways to try to secure it into place so that that tag end doesn't come loose. When you get to the last piece, sometimes you might crack it, so make sure, be careful at that point. Alright, you get the idea. It's pretty sturdy for that particular purpose right there. And zoom in just a little bit so you can see. Alright, and that's the idea. How to use wild vine as an improvised cordage when shelter building. Okay, well, I've completed phase 1 of building my improvised shelter. This will be a lean-to, as you can see, and all natural materials in the construction. You can see how I've done the lashing with vine. Everything used from stuff that I could find near my campsite. And one idea was to make bark shingles. My other idea is there's a magnolia tree real close to here, and I could use greenery off that magnolia tree. It's got a real waxy leaf to it, and that would actually make a great waterproofing material. Could also use pine needles, so I may experiment with that. But at least this is phase 1 complete, and that's what I'm going to complete for today. I wanted to give you a little bit better view from the front side. You can see I've done the lashing, and I did give you an example of that as I did it. Okay, and this is the front side of the shelter. You can see I got my fire pit in place. I left the overhang. I didn't cut those sticks off. No need. So you can see what the shelter looks like. Well, I'm going to go ahead and get a fire built and cook myself some lunch. This is getting later in the afternoon, and I've not had anything since breakfast time, so that's my next project. Anyhow, you guys, thank you for your interest, and as soon as I complete phase 2 of this, I will post a video to show the finished result of this shelter. Alright, hope you guys are doing well. As always, God bless and take care. Just wanted to give you guys a little bit of an update. Today is May 30th, 2010, and the shelter you're looking at and the clips that you've been watching prior to this one were filmed back in early February of 2010, roughly 4 months ago. And just by chance, I happened to come back to this area today for some other things, and I wanted to come and check out this shelter and see how it's holding, or not shelter, but frame of a shelter, which I've never finished, and it's been a goal of mine to get back and work on this a little bit more. Maybe I'll get the job done by fall of 2010. However, I wanted to point out how this vine is holding, and And actually pulling on this right now, this stuff is actually tighter than it was when I first put it up here. So as the vine has dried and cured out, it's actually made a tighter hold for my framework. And all the lashing which I did is holding nice and strong. And some of my wood which I used, my poles, look a little weather worn over the past 4 months, but everything's still holding. So I still got a solid framework here to work with. But this vine is excellent and has really held through the weathering and the seasonal change. And if you notice, this area looks a lot different than it did back in February with the foliage and everything. All right, hopefully I'll show you guys a finished version of this someday, maybe in the fall.